Hi. The purpose of this video is to introduce you to club swinging, which, with few exceptions, is a series of different sized circles done in different places, in different directions, and at different times. It's the combination of all these that create some interesting patterns. There are a number of books covering the subject, but learning the manipulations from written words and diagrams takes a long time. Also, many of the best books are old and hard to find. Club swinging has been traced back a long time. Roman gladiators used it as part of their training for the Olympic Games. And various cultures used swinging clubs for exercise, hunting, and war. Known as the Indian club, the swinging club came to the United States from India by way of England. An American visiting England and seeing an exhibit of these Indian clubs brought the exercise to the United States in 1862. It became an extremely popular form of exercise in the United States for quite a while thereafter. In Massachusetts, some club swingers started incorporating juggling of the clubs as part of their exercises. And soon, jugglers, realizing the prop looked appealing, started hollowing out the club to make them lighter and more manageable. Since that time, the juggler has changed the shape of the club to suit his or her needs and fashioned the clubs from various materials, including bamboo, cork, fiberglass, and plastic. One of the most popular combinations in club swinging is this move. It's known as the fountain. But before we get to that combination, or many others, let's go over some of the basics. Parts of the club: the knob, the handle, and the body. Now let's go over a few of the grips that are used. The three principal grips are the solid grip. As its name implies, it's used to make sure that you have a solid grip on the club and that there is no play in the club whatsoever. You can use a number of different grips. I'm just going to be like this. The next grip is called the ring grip. Make a ring with your forefinger and thumb. Make sure that it's big enough to slide over the handle, but not so big that it slides over the knob. Make sure that there is some play in the club, unlike the solid grip. The third grip is the ball and socket joint grip. Make a socket with your fingers and thumb and place the club inside there. Place the knob inside that socket, making sure that you do have some play in the club. Again, unlike the solid grip, where there will be no play. There is another grip called the snake grip, but we'll be getting into that later on in the video. Okay. In order to do the fountain and many basic moves, we need to understand two directions. So we'll go over those first. With the clubs here, if they were to fall away from your body, like this, we'll be defining that as the outward direction. If the clubs fall toward your body, we'll be defining that as the inward direction. So, for instance, these would be outward swings, and these are inward swings. Now let's go over some of the basic circles. The wrist circle is that which centers around the wrist. The short arm circle centers around the elbow. And the full arm circle centers around the shoulder. A hint when defining these circles. You want to make sure that the people in front see a full circle. In order for them to do that, you have to be defining this circle on a plane, on one plane that is right in front of you. A good exercise is to work right in front of a mirror or right in front of a wall and make sure that you're touching that wall at all points of that circle. So, for instance, if I were to extend my arm way back, where it is quite comfortable for a lot of people when they're starting, I would be nowhere near that plane in front of me. If I'm performing circles like this, you really don't see a front circle, a full circle from the front. Here you would see a full circle. So take a moment as you start and practice wrist circles, short arm circles, and full arm circles, making sure that you're hitting the plane directly in front of you. Yeah, just take a look at that from the side, and this may help you. Now let's go over some of the basic placements for the circles and make sure that we're using the proper grip in the proper places. Circles made here are called lower front circles. Circles made back here, lower back circles. Circles up here, upper front circles, and shoulder circles. For the shoulder circles and the lower front circles, we'll be using the ring grip. Once again, that looked like this. And again, allowing play of the club in the hand. For the lower back circles and the upper front circles, we'll be using the ball and socket joint grip. Let's combine now just the lower front circles with full arm circles. With the full arm circles, we'll be using a solid grip. So, a combination with just one lower front circle and one full arm circle. We'll be using both hands, and we'll be going in the outward direction. Starting here, full arm, lower front. Full arm, lower front. Notice I'm trying to work on the plane right in front of me so that you can see a full circle, whether it be a full arm circle or a lower front circle. And notice also that when I'm doing the lower fronts here, I'm using a ring grip and a solid grip now. Ring grip and a solid grip. Now let's work that in the same move in the opposite direction, the inward direction. Start here, go inward, full arm, lower front. Full arm, lower front. Full arm, lower front. Again, as I go to the lower front move, I'm using a ring grip, and I use a solid grip on the full arm circle. And again, I'm trying to work on that plane directly in front of me so that you see a full circle. Another direction, parallel direction. If I were to go inward with one hand, for instance this way, and outward with my other hand, I would be going parallel. So now let's work on some parallel full arms and lower front circles. Same combination. One full arm, one lower front. Don't feel bad if this is difficult for you. Working in parallel directions is a lot more difficult than working in outward directions or inward directions for most people. All right, let's come to a stop here and then practice parallel the other way. Good. Okay, now let's use the other move, the shoulder circles, that also use that ring grip. Let's do the same combination of moves, just full arm circles and shoulder circles. First we'll start outwards, full arm, shoulder circles, full arm, shoulder circles. Again, I'm using the ring grip as I did with the lower front circles. This is in the outward direction. Now let's go in the inward direction. Now let's go parallel one direction. And let's go parallel in the other direction. Okay, now let's go to the moves that use the ball and socket joint grip. Those being the upper fronts and the lower backs. Again, we'll do the same series of moves, just a full arm circle, and we'll start with the upper fronts. I'll be going outward. When I do these upper fronts, I'm going into the ball and socket joint grip. And when I do the full arm circle, I'm using a solid grip. Okay, now let's do it inward. And parallel. and parallel the other way. Okay, and lastly, the move, the lower backs, which also use these ball and socket joint grips. Outwards, inward, parallel one direction, and parallel the other direction. Okay, now let's use all of these moves, the full arm circles, the upper front, the shoulder, the lower front, and the lower back in combination. All I'm going to ask you to do is we'll go in all directions. We'll start with the outward moves, and we'll go shoulder circle, upper front, shoulder, lower front, lower back, lower front. Again, note that we're using the ring grip and the ball and socket joint grip and the solid grip. Okay, let's work that same combination inward. Good. Now let's work it parallel one direction. And parallel the other direction. One of the common mistakes when going from the lower front circle to the lower back circle is to turn your wrist the wrong way. Let's take a closer look at this. When going from the lower front, where you're using the ring grip, to the lower back, where you're using the ball and socket joint grip, keep the back of your wrist next to your leg. I'll do it a few times so you can see what I mean. The common mistake is to turn your wrist this way, palm upward. In many of the later combinations, this will cause a lot of difficulty. So again, avoid this and work it this way. So far, you're familiar with making a number of different circles around different areas of your body, namely the upper front circle, the shoulder circle, lower front circle, and the lower back circle. But you're familiar with doing these circles at the same time with both hands. Now let's work the same circles at alternating times. What I mean by that is we started by working, for instance, full arm circles and shoulder circles. Both hands going in the outward direction and both hands going at the same time. If we continue to do the same movement with each hand, but doing it at alternating time, where one hand does the shoulder circle while the other hand does the full arm circle, this move is known as the reel, R-E-E-L. Again, we're working at alternating time, doing the moves alternating, one with each other, instead of at the same time. Here I am back in the reel. Now if I were to hold the shoulder circles and make two of the shoulder circles and add a lower front circle with the other hand, this move right here is known as the long reel. So right now we have the long reel, which I'm doing right now, and the reel, which I showed you before. Both of these moves are using the same grips we used with shoulder circles and full arm circles before, namely the ring grip when we're doing the shoulder circle and the solid grip when we're using the full arm circle. Down here in the long reel, we're using a lower front circle. We're also using the ring grip again. Now let's go to another move. This one right here is known as the short reel. We can do this short reel down low or up high. Up high we're using upper front circles and shoulder circles. Again, remember that the upper front circles are using the ball and socket joint grip. Shoulder circles, again, using the ring grip. As we come down and do the short reel down low, the lower front circles, again, are using the ring grip, and the lower back circles are using the ball and socket joint grip. Notice that with all these reels, whether it be the short reel, the reel, or the long reel, or the short reel done up high, we're using the same grips that we've gone over. And that these moves are alternating. One hand does one move, while the other hand does the other move. Since you're comfortable now in working moves that work at the same time and at alternating time, let's make sure you can go from one to the other comfortably. Let's just do a comfortable position. The short reel, because your hands are hanging down, it is obviously a lot more comfortable than when your hands are up high. And we will just exercise going from the short reel, which is lower front and lower backs, alternating, to lower front and lower backs at the same time. In order to do that, what we need to do is choose one club and make sure that that club does 2 lower fronts or 2 lower backs in a row. Rather than going from lower front to lower back, lower front, lower back, I'm going to double up and make sure that this club does a lower front, lower back, lower front, and then continue back and forth. So let's watch. The third and fourth one will be lower fronts. Here I'll go lower front, lower back, 3, 4. Okay? So I'll start off 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I've doubled up. My left hand, all it did was just continue back and forth. As an exercise to make sure that you understand this, work the short reel, the long reel, the regular reel, the high, short reel also, and just do this exercise. Start off double, or same time, where each club is working the lower front and the lower back, and determine that your right hand will double up in lower front position. Right now, it did 2 in a row. And now all of a sudden I'm into the alternating lower front and lower backs, which is also known as the short reel. Then choose the right hand again to double up to bring you back into same timing. Here I go. Notice that it did 2 in a row. Now to exercise both hands, I'll do the same thing with my left hand. Okay? 2 in a row with my left hand in front. That brought me to alternating fronts and backs. And now 2 in a row, and I'm back to same time. I've worked both hands into and out of alternating position. This exercise should be worked again inwards, as well as parallel to the left, as well as parallel to the right. In the short reel, low and high, the reel, and the long reel. Now that we've worked these exercises, going back and forth from same time to alternating time, let's make sure each hand can work independently of the other. So, for yourself, just choose some moves that you feel comfortable with and work each hand independently of the other, performing some other moves. For instance, I'll just come out of this pattern that I've set and tell myself that I want my right hand to be doing a full arm circle and then come right back into the pattern. Now I'll do the same thing with my left hand. Now if I slow that up a bit, I can come back into same timing. See how I went from alternating timing back into alternating timing, or back into same timing, depending upon how long I took with that full arm circle, either 2 or 3 beats. Now, let's work some more moves. You can also work your shoulders and upper fronts, totally independent of all the work that's going down with your left hand. Choose a new place, extend your hand to the side. That's a movement we haven't even done. Go at some other angles and some other places. Work your other hand the same way. Either in the shoulder and the upper fronts, arms extended to the side, and then come back into the same pattern you had started with. Later on, after you learn the snake moves, you'll be able to work those into the same independent type of exercises. That was a snake move. We'll get to that later. So remember now, take your time and work whatever is comfortable to you, each hand independently. Let your hand experiment with different parts around your body. You can make circles above your head, out to the side, through your legs, around your back, around your front, anywhere. So take this time to experiment with some moves around your body and work each hand independently of the other. We're almost ready now to learn the combination I showed you at the beginning, the fountain. We need to learn one more move. We had practiced right at the beginning with a move that I'm sure now is quite comfortable. That was the shoulder circle. Notice I'm doing this in the outward direction. Let's now work the same circle, but over the opposite shoulder. Again, this is still going in the outward direction. And I'm using the same grip I used before, which was the ring grip, when doing the over the opposite shoulder circle. During the full arm time, I'm using the solid grip. Let's work it with the other hand, of course. And let's do it inward instead of outward. Always work the moves with both hands in all directions. If you've put in some time now practicing all the moves that we've gone over so far, using both hands and working in both directions, you know an awful lot more than you need to know in order to learn the fountain. Let's take another look at the fountain. This is the fountain, and it can be broken down into a number of parts. We'll be doing that in just a few moments. But let's look at the basic part of the fountain. This is it. It's known as the cross-follow movement. The interesting part and the difficult part about this movement is that the clubs need to be kept in opposition to each other so that it looks like the spokes of a wheel turning. As I said, this is the difficult part of it. So in order to learn it, we're going to be using not clubs, but a stick. I have a stick over here, and I've colored the two parts black and white. And I'm going to be using two clubs, one black and one white, to correspond with the two parts of the stick. Let's start with the stick. In order to learn the cross follow, I'm going to ask you to start like this. Here's what I'll look like from the front, and now you can see what it looks like from the side. I'm going to be using this grip. My two fingers, I'll slip the club, not the club, I'll slip the stick in between the two fingers. This is a grip that you won't be using with clubs, just with the stick. Imagine the black half being the black club that I'll be using later, and the white half being the white club. Because it's a stick, it's only one piece, both clubs or both ends of the stick will stay in perfect opposition to each other. Let's take the right club, or in this particular case, the black half of the stick, and bring it over the white half. After that, I'll bring it to the other part of my body, my left side. Then I take the white club, which is now underneath and in front of me, and I'll bring it over. Then I bring it over to the other part of my body. I'll bring the right club, or the black half of the stick, over my left hand, and then bring it over to the other side of my body. Now, once again, I'll take the left club, or the white half of the stick, and bring it around over my right hand, and then bring it over the right side of my body. The important thing to accentuate here is that you bring your right hand over, and then bring it over to the other side of your body. And the left hand comes around and over, and then to the other side of your body. I'll do this to the side so you can see it a little better. Again, picture the black and white half of the stick representing the two clubs kept in perfect opposition. Notice that I'm accenting over with my right hand and then over with my left. Over with my right hand, over with my left. Over and over. It's crossing. And it's each club following the same path that the other club follows. Therefore, it's called the cross-follow move. And a little faster. This is the cross-follow forward. This is a new direction. We were just talking about outward and inward before. Now, if you picture this as a wheel, this wheel is going forward. The direction is now forward. Let's learn the same thing with the clubs. I'll start in the same position. A black club is now in back. And I bring it over the white club, the one in my left hand, and then I bring it over to my other hand. Now I switch, trying to keep the clubs in opposition with each other, and bring it to the other side of my body. Now I'll switch, the right club is over, and then bring the hands to the other side of the body. Left club comes over, and bring it to the other side of the body. Same thing that was done with the stick. I'll do this a few more times, and then I'll turn to the side so you can see the other view. Again, this is a forward cross-follow. Notice that I'm having trouble keeping the clubs in perfect opposition. Obviously, no problem keeping them in perfect opposition when you're working with a stick. Okay, now I'll go to the side here a little. And I'll slow it down. Notice my right hand goes over, and then my left hand goes over. Right hand goes over, left hand goes over. Right hand goes over, and left hand goes over. When you start, it is easy to make the circles and the crossing over with big arm sweeps. Now watch as I cross at my elbow right there, and then at my elbow right there, and slowly I'll cross at my forearm, and then down just at my wrist. And I'm looking to get the center of the circle be at my wrists. Again, this is the cross-follow forward. Okay. In order to do a more complete part of the fountain, we need to learn the same cross-follow backwards. Let's go back to the stick. and go through the same process. Instead of working over with my right hand now, I'm going to start under. Okay? So we'll start here, go under with the right hand, bring it to the other side of the body, and then under with the left hand, bring it to the other side of your body. Under with your right, under with your left, under with your right, under with your left. Take note that during the cross follow, whether it be forward or backward, when one club is up, the other one is down. When one club is forward, the other one is backwards. Both in opposition to each other. In the back cross follow, you'll be able to see it better here from the side. You have the hands going underneath, underneath, underneath. My right hand goes under my left hand goes under my right. My right hand goes under my left hand goes under my right. Picture the two sides of the sticks as being two unconnected clubs. Okay, this is the backward cross follow. Same thing with the clubs. Again, from the front, right hand goes underneath, and notice that as I go under, I don't want this club to lag. I'll make sure that it stays in opposition. Okay, go to the other side, left hand comes underneath, and go to the other side of your body. Again, it may be easier to start with big sweeping arm motions, and eventually you'll get your hands just crossing at your wrists. And let's take a look at that from the side. I'll slow down using big sweeping arm motions. You can use bigger ones if you like, if that slows it down for you. And then eventually, understanding that the right hand goes under the left and the left hand goes under the right, make the intersection closer and closer and finally right at the wrists. This is the cross follow backwards. You need to know both the cross follow forward and backwards in order to do the lower fountain. This is the lower fountain. Let's learn the lower fountain with the stick, and then we'll come back to the clubs. Start here on center, black club to my right, white club to my left. Right hand over the left, left hand coming back and over the right. And I come back here, come back to center. That was a cross follow move forward. Now I go underneath with my left hand and underneath with my right and come back center. That was a cross follow backward. I'm doing a cross follow forward on one side of my body and a cross follow backwards on the other side of my body. Once again, over with my right, over with my left, come to center, under with my left, under with my right, come to center. Over right, over left, center, under right, center. Over right, over left, under right. Over right, over left, under right. I'll just do this a couple more times. And hopefully you're imagining the two colored parts of this stick as being two swinging clubs. Okay, let's go right to the clubs now. Same thing. Over right, over left, come to center. under left, under right, come to center. Over right, over left, come to center. Under left, under right, come to center. Again, the difficult part is making sure that the two clubs stay in opposition to each other. As you're accenting the movement of one club, make sure that the other club stays in opposition. This is the lower fountain. Again, it's comprised of the cross follow forward and the cross follow backward. When you're comfortable with this, let's just start using the top half of your body, okay? And let's just extend out of this lower fountain with full arm circles over the top. It'll become evident why in just a moment. We'll do the cross follow forward and backward, and full arms on the top. This is going to help you find the place where you go to do the upper fountain. Okay? Now let's learn the upper fountain with just the stick. Again, you'll be coming up here, starting in what would be a shoulder circle, okay, when you come to two clubs, and ending with over the other shoulder, and then a shoulder circle here. There are 3 circles made with each club, so it's a total of 6 circles. I guess this would actually only have 3 circles, though. The circles are over the shoulder with one hand. The other hand is doing it over opposite shoulder. Up here, they're both doing circles above your head in front of you, not behind you. And then this hand will do an over the opposite shoulder circle, and this hand will do a regular shoulder circle. Notice that because we are going in this direction, a shoulder circle here is inward, whereas an over the opposite shoulder with this hand is outward. Okay, here we go. We're leading with the black club, the black club, the black half of the stick, makes the first circle and leads me down. So these are full arm circles here. Now this movement right here as I come down with both of my hands here will not be what's done when I get to clubs. I'll be trying to keep my hands in opposition. Okay, one more time with this, and then we'll go right to the clubs. There we go. Black club in my right hand. I have my clubs in opposition, over the shoulders, over my head, and over the shoulders. This is the upper fountain. It goes over one shoulder, then over your head in front of you, and then over your other shoulder. Okay, let's put the whole fountain together with the stick and then with the clubs. Let's start here. Over, over, under, under, shoulder circles above the head, and shoulder circles. Now, something to note is that after I go to the top, shoulder circle over the head and shoulder circle, this shoulder circle here acts as what was the first over, right hand over the left circle before. So don't expect to do this over the shoulder circle and then come into over again. Right away you're coming with your left hand over. Okay? So though you may start with over here, you're actually going to be doing that the next time around and every time after up here. Okay? Over with your right hand, over with your left hand. Come to center, under with your right hand, under with your left hand, over your head. See how that over the other shoulder move right here leads us into left hand coming over. The same thing happens in this area right here as this circle here cuts short some of the circle being made here. This is the full fountain. Picture the black and white half of the sticks being unconnected clubs. Okay, let's go right to the stick. Right to the clubs. Here we go. Cross follows forward and backwards, then over the shoulders, the head, and the other shoulder. Again, the difficult part is making sure that the two clubs stay in opposition and that the fountain looks like a wheel with its spokes turning. So now we know that this fountain was comprised of a number of different sections. As a quick review here, the basis of the whole fountain was this cross-follow move, done forward and done backwards. When you know it forward and backward, you can go to the lower fountain and then to the upper fountain. And of course, then put it all together. Now that you understand the fountain combination, you can experiment with a number of moves which flow quite well right out of the fountain. For instance, the pinwheel, over your head, the waist wrap, full arm circles with pirouettes, and under the legs are different orientations. For instance, this fountain that I'm doing right now in the horizontal position. I'll end now with a snake, which is what we'll go to next. The snake move needs a new grip that we haven't discussed yet. The grip is very simply, instead of making a ring grip the way we have been making it with the thumb and a forefinger, make the grip with your thumb and middle finger. Same place for the ring grip, underneath the knob, and then use your forefinger as a guide over the knob. Use your other three fingers, your other two fingers, on the neck of the club. This is the snake grip. We'll start by working with a shoulder snake. Okay? This is the beginning position with the club behind your arm. palm facing out. We'll go away from our body, and we'll be forming 2 circles with the wrist around the elbow. Your wrist goes twice around your elbow. Okay, let's go into the particulars of the move. I'll break it down into 2 circles. Here's the first quarter of the circle, first half. Now at 3/4 point. From the 3/4 point till we finish the first circle, we are going to be moving our wrist so that the palm faces out. From here to here, I moved and turned my wrist out, away from my body. That's at the end of 1 circle. Notice that the club is now in the front of my arm, whereas it began and ends behind my arm. Second half of the circle, first quarter of it, first half, 3/4, and then from 3/4 to the second circle being finished, we will throw the club off, keeping that grip on the club and making sure that the club ends up behind the arm again. Once again, first quarter, first half, 3/4, end of the first circle. The important point here is that the wrist is now with the palm facing out. Second circle, and end with a throw off. 1 circle, palm faces out. Second circle, end with a throw off. With both hands, it looks like this. Notice at the end of the first circle, the palms are facing out. At the end of the second circle, you throw off. That's the outward snake. Of course, you can do the snake inwards. The inward snake is with the palm facing in. You do start again with the club behind your shoulder. The inward shoulder snake. Again, 2 circles. 1/4, half, 3/4. At the end, make sure your palm now is facing inward. Again, the club does go in front of your arm at the end of the first circle. Second half of the snake with a throw off. Again, the same points to remember. Make sure at the end of the first circle that the club is in front of your arm and that your palm will be facing inward this time. This is with an inward snake. Here we go. Palm faces in, club is in front of my arm. Now I'm ready for the second half and a throw off. First circle, palm is facing in, club's in front of me, and second half with a throw off. 2 circles around my elbow with my wrist. That's inward. Inward shoulder snakes. Now start and do outward shoulder snakes. Okay? Now how do you get into those snakes? How do you get that grip? Practice by just coming from a ring grip with shoulder circles, and then right here, switch your grip to a snake grip. All right, one more time. We'll do 3 shoulder circles into a snake grip. 1, 2, 3, into a snake grip. Same thing. 1, 2, 3, into a snake grip. All right, and of course, just practice it with your other hand. I think I did 4 there. 1, 2, 3, into a snake grip. Okay? You can break down that snake into a first half of a snake and a second half of a snake. Gets a little bit peculiar, but here's the way it goes. The first half, as you know, if we're going outwards, outward shoulder snake, starts with the club behind you, and after the first half, the club is in front of you. Okay? So with the first half snake, you would come from here, and right from this point, throw off. So consecutive first half snakes would only have 1 circle around your shoulder, and then throw off. 1 circle, and then throw off. This is the first half of the snake, and throw off. Now, I could start after the first half of the snake and just do the second half of the snake. So I'd start here, and throw off here to this point, which was at the beginning of the second half of the snake. So here I'm doing second half snakes. And here I'm doing first half snakes. Notice I have to decide where I'm throwing off and where I'm starting. That's what's going to determine whether I'm doing a first half of the snake or the second half of the snake. Okay, there are other places where you can make snakes. You can make them around your waist. You can make them travel up and down your body. And you can make them go around your head, but that's specifically by just using a throw-off. Let's start with the easiest one, which is just going around your head. We'll use the same shoulder snake outwards and just throw off around your head instead of throwing off outside your shoulder. Instead of throwing off here, we will throw off around our head. Let's do them both together. Realize we'll have to overlap them a little so that they don't hit, or off-sync them, alternate them, also so that they don't hit each other. These are just shoulder snakes with a throw-off around the head. I'll do these for another few seconds. And I'm watching the throw-off club. Okay, now let's work on the waist snake. This is better just described by you watching rather than using words. I'm going to come into the snake grip in the back, come around front, let the club tuck underneath my arm, and then here is the throw-off. Back to the start. All right. Okay, with both hands. I'm into the snake grip, comes underneath my arms, and a throw-off. Here's the throw-off, here's the beginning. Here's the beginning grip, throw-off. Now you can take this snake and continue up around your body and down. You can start it from the waist, or you can start it from the shoulders. Here I'll start it from the shoulders. And of course, you could incorporate different throw-offs around the head. I'll have to get them back on sync, so I held one club for a moment. See how I'm just holding one club to get it off sync, and then back on sync, or to keep them from same timing to alternate timing. I can also alternate the timing and get them going up and down at different times with this body snake. So we have the body snakes, shoulder snakes, the waist snakes, snakes with the throw-offs around the head, as with all the other moves we've covered. Work these inward, work these outward, work them with both hands, work them parallel right, parallel left, and you can even work them in follow time. Okay, we've obviously gone through a lot of material. Let's review just what we've covered. Parts of the club, the knob, the neck or the handle, and the body. We went over 4 grips. This was the ring grip, the ball and socket joint grip, the solid grip, and the snake grip. Then we went over certain circles, okay? The wrist circles, the short arm circles, and the full arm circles. Then we covered a number of directions. We went outwards, we went inwards, we went forward, we went backward, we went parallel in one direction, and we went parallel in the other direction, and we also covered horizontal. Then we went over some timing. Same timing, alternate timing, independent timing, and follow time. Then, of course, we went over a number of places where the circles could be made. Principally, we went over shoulder circles, upper front circles, lower back circles, lower front circles, and full arm circles. Now, of course, we also said that circles could be made anywhere around the body. And for a while, I showed you a few of those. Above your head, under your legs, around your back. Anywhere that your hands can reach, you can be making a circle. Club swinging competition routines of old had a great number of rules, regulations, and requirements. No such restrictions apply for performers today, and more jugglers are incorporating some sort of club swinging into their acts. There are many moves that we couldn't possibly have covered here today, and as with juggling, there are an unlimited number of possibilities to be created. Good luck. Go at your own speed here. If you're comfortable with both, try either one or the other, or both. Inward. We're going to lift like this.